Hey everybody, this is Don with Brazier Toneworks, and thanks for watching. Today's short 2-minute video has to do with guitar capacitors, those things that we hook up onto our tone knobs in order to control how much treble or bass. There normally are three different types that you'll find in guitars. You'll see a mylar. Some people refer to those as the orange drop, but there are also blue or chocolate drops. There are paper and oil, black beauties, bumblebees, vitamin Qs, sometimes they go by those names, or the ceramic discs, the little round discs that you'll see that are connected onto some of the older guitars. Now, each one has its own slightly unique attribute. The mylar, in my opinion, tends to be a slightly brighter sounding cap. The ceramic disc tends to be even brighter than that, and the paper and oil tends to be the darkest of them. Again, this is all subjective. Your ears may hear them differently. A lot of guys will use the mylar, the orange drops, without any issues. Other people swear by the paper and oil. It's entirely up to you. Now, normally you're going to find one of four different values for a capacitor in your guitar, starting from the 0.015 all the way up to the 0.1. The 0.015 is going to reduce your treble the least, and the 0.1 is going to reduce it the most. So if you put a 0.1 in your guitar and you turn that tone knob all the way down, it's going to get very dark. The most treble is going to be taken off. Normally, in most guitar circuits today, you'll see either the 0.015 or the 0.022 is the most common. Now, if you can't find the right value capacitor, or you want something very specific, or for whatever reason you have two and you just want to use them, if you wire them in parallel, shown here on the left, meaning you take the left end and you wire it to the left end of the other capacitor and the right to the right, you're actually doubling the capacitance. So you're going to see a 0.022 and a 0.022 added together in parallel are going to equal a 0.044. Conversely, on the right, you'll see in series, where you'll connect one directly to the other, you're going to decrease the capacitance. So it's going to go from a 0.022 and a 0.022, you're going to end up with a 0.011. So again, if you're having some trouble finding exactly what you're looking for, you can mismatch capacitors or wire them in a certain way in order to achieve what value you're looking for. Now, the last thing you need to be aware of with your capacitor is the volt rating. The volt rating basically tells you how much or how many volts your capacitor can handle before, in essence, it burns up. The higher the number, obviously, the more volts it can handle. Typically, higher value or higher volt rated capacitors are used in like tube amps or things like that. In a guitar circuit, we're never going to achieve that level of voltage coming through them, so we don't need to have that large. What I tried to show you here is the exact same capacitor in terms of its capacitance, a 0.022, but you can see I moved from the bottom at a 200 volt up to a 600, up to 1,000, you can see how much bigger the capacitor is physically. Now, you don't need to have a 1,000 volt capacitor. You can do a 200, you can do a 300, a 600, depending on what you find. Again, the concern here is you need to have the right value in terms of its capacitance, but the volt doesn't really matter in a guitar circuit. You're just really going to be dealing with the real estate or how big this capacitor is. Can you fit it into your guitar cavity? I tried to show you that here with a standard pot. You can see how much bigger a 1,000 volt capacitor is versus a 200. Obviously, you're going to want to try to go smaller to fit that in your cavity. Now, to be fair to those guys who like the paper and oil, I tried doing the exact same thing here. You can see the four different capacitors I have. These are the Russian paper and oil. The bottom three are all 400 volt. You can see I jump up to the 200 volt, just happens to be the only kind I have for a 0.1. You can see how big they are in comparison, again, to your standard pot. Again, you don't need to be concerned with the voltage. If that's all you have, it's fine. It's not going to do any harm. You're not going to really notice anything. It's just going to be harder for you to actually wire it and fit it in your cavity. So there. Hopefully that gives you guys some information about capacitors, kind of things to look for, things to be concerned about. Again, I'm not trying to push anybody towards an orange drop versus a paper and oil. I have my personal preference. These are all very subjective in terms of the tone and what they produce. But a good quality capacitor is going to make a difference in your guitar. There's no question about that. Again, hopefully this helps, and I appreciate you watching. If you do have questions or you want to see a specific video, please email me at braziertoneworks@gmail.com. And remember, tone, it's not just a knob, it's sound advice.